Hey everyone, I'm Rob Franek. I'm Editor-in-Chief here at the Princeton Review, and today we are tackling some of the most frequently asked questions, 15 of those questions to be exact, all about the new digital SAT. As a recap, in January 2022, the College Board, the creators of all things SAT, announced that by 2024, the SAT was going fully digital. This is super exciting news, and like many of you watching, we have been patiently waiting for more and more information on the digital exam, its structure, its content, its tech features, its prep resources, and many more. Over the last couple of months, our team right here at the Princeton Review have been gathering that latest information. I am here to share it with you. And one note, we have a lot to cover today, so we're going to dive right into those frequently asked questions. Question number one, when will the digital SAT suite become available? This is a pretty straightforward answer directly from the College Board. The College Board is planning to stagger the rollout of both the digital SAT as well as the digital PSAT. The digital SAT will become available internationally beginning in March of 2023. The digital PSAT will be released in the fall of 2023. And finally, in March of 2024, the digital SAT will become available right here in the United States. You can find all that information right here on the graphic. We'll come to you continuously with more information as it becomes available. Question number two, how long is the digital SAT? The digital SAT is going to be significantly shorter than its 3-hour predecessor. It's coming in at a trim 2 hours and 14 minutes. Now, the exam itself is composed of 2 sections. The first section, reading and writing, and the second section, of course, is math. Each section is divided further into 2 equal length modules. In each of the reading and writing modules, you'll face 25 operational questions, meaning that they will actually count towards your score, and 2 pre-test questions, essentially they're warm-up questions for the testing applications that will not count to your score. Now, all of the reading and writing questions are multiple choice questions, with most questions having just one short passage and a relative few having a pair of short passages. Now, each reading and writing module is 32 minutes long. Moving to the math section, you will also see, as we mentioned before, 2 modules. For each one, you will have 20 operational questions in the math section and 2 pre-test questions. You will have a whopping 35 minutes to answer every one of those questions in each module. It's important to remember that your math section will have 75% multiple choice questions and 25% student response questions. All that said, in between the reading and writing section and the math section, you will get a well-deserved 10-minute break. Question number 3. I heard that the digital SAT is adaptive. What does that actually mean? First of all, excellent question. Now, the digital SAT will follow what is known as the MST methodology, which stands for multi-stage adaptive testing. And as its name notes, it adapts to your performance throughout the exam. The first module of each section will have a mix of easy, medium, and hard questions. So your performance on the first module of the exam will determine the level of difficulty of the questions in the second module, hence adapting to each test taker's performance level. So simply put, if you conquer the first module of the math section, and I so know that you can do it, the next module will likely consist of more difficult questions. That said, that same logic holds true in the reverse. So let's say that you struggled with the first module of the reading and writing section. The second module will likely be a bit easier. But here's where the process gets a bit tricky. You're really never going to know how well you performed in the first module based on the questions that you get in the second module. Now, I'm going to note this very, very carefully. The College Board cites the word mostly in their difficulty level. So simply put, the College Board states pretty clearly that the second module will have higher difficulty or lower difficulty questions on average, and that you're likely to see some easy questions in the second module, even if you did really, really well in the first module. And let's just say it out loud. What's difficult or easy for you might not be difficult or easy for other test takers. So suffice it to say that you just can't tell how well you've done on the first module based on the questions that you're going to see in the second module. And let's also remember that a computer adaptive test is what allows the College Board to streamline the SAT. And a computer adaptive test can show more differentiation between students with fewer questions because students will get sorted out mid-test. Question number 4, why is the College Board making this change to a digital SAT? For those of you who are a bit skeptical of this approach, it's important to keep in mind that while adaptive testing is brand new for the SAT, it's been around for nearly 40 years. The advantages are without question well researched, and the College Board seems pretty confident that students will benefit in several ways, including number one, you're going to have more time on average to answer each question, making the exam a measure of skill and knowledge rather than just speed and endurance. Next, faster test scores. Folks, I am talking days and not weeks. Next on my list, more secure testing. And of course, you're going to have a much shorter overall exam experiences. That said, schools will also have significantly more flexibility as to how they can go about administering this new digital SAT. Specifically, they can take advantage of flex start times and give the exam at different times throughout the day or across several days. Question 5, will the digital exam measure the same skills and knowledge as the pencil and paper SAT, and will it be scored on the same scale? That's, of course, a two-part question. The very simple answer to both questions is yes. The College Board has confirmed that the digital SAT will measure relatively similar reading, writing, and math concepts as the current day pencil and paper SAT does. It will include command of evidence, that's both textual as well as quantitative, knowledge of high utility words and phrases in context, the ability to revise and edit writing and to improve effectiveness of expression and achieve rhetorical goals, command of standard English, that's in 3 different parts, sentence structure, usage, and of course punctuation, command of math principles that are tied to college as well as career success. Now, the new digital SAT will also follow the same 400 to 1600 scoring scale as the current pencil and paper SAT. Feel the power in it, friends. Question 6, is anything changing to the sections and questions on the digital SAT? The answer is, of course, yes. But here's what you need to know. First, instead of having a separate reading section and writing and language section, there will now be a shared reading and writing section. The questions in this section will represent one of 4 content areas, including number 1, craft and structure, number 2, information and ideas, number 3, standard English conventions, and then 4th on the list, expression of ideas. Now, the reading section itself will also consist of several shorter passages with just 1 question per passage rather than the longer passages with several questions, allowing students to actually be tested on a wider range of topics. You will also see a wider array of difficulty across the passage questions. Now, this is important. Passage difficulty will go from 6th to 8th grade level up to 12th to 14th level. Now, this is a pretty deep contrast to the current stated level of difficulty on the pencil and paper SAT of 9th to 10th grade up to a post-secondary level. You will, of course, also see some changes to the math section. First, the length of in-context questions. Now, that's phraseology, which simply means word problems in College Board speak. So the length of in-context questions will become shorter. According to the College Board, this changes in response to feedback regarding barriers that longer word problems posed to ESL and ELL students. Next, friends, we can celebrate the glorious end of no calculator math on the SAT. You may now use calculators on the math section in full. You will also have the option to use an approved personal calculator or take advantage of the built-in graphing calculator offered on the digital SAT. This change single-handedly eliminates one of the biggest stressors that students have reported about the current day pencil and paper SAT. We also understand that 75% of the questions on that math section will be multiple choice versus student response questions. And those are casually called grid-in questions or fill-in questions. And finally, questions on the math section will actually represent one of 4 content domains, including number 1, algebra, number 2, advanced math, number 3, problem solving and data analysis, and number 4, personal favorite, geometry and trigonometry. Question number 7, are scores from the digital SAT equivalent to pencil and paper SAT scores? This is a genius question. It is literally on the minds of students across the planet, but to be completely transparent, the answer is still very much to be determined. That said, we do know that scores on the digital SAT will be statistically linked to scores on the pencil and paper exam. However, the College Board, the creators of all things SAT, is currently conducting studies to provide further insight as to how that will actually work. So it is literally too soon to tell with 100% confidence that the score that a student receives on a pencil and paper SAT will translate to the same or very similar score in the digital format. Now, Of course, the digital exam measures similar skills and knowledge that the pencil and paper tests test for current day, but the exam themselves are not identical. Therefore, the current SAT can't serve as a precise predictor of how a student would perform on the digital exam, and of course, vice versa. We do know, however, that scoring on the digital exam is different from the pencil and paper exam in that questions will be weighted. Questions on the new digital SAT will be weighted. It bears repeating. Adaptive tests. We use a form of scoring called item response theory. You'll be familiar with it, wherein answers are given different weights based on question difficulty as well as score level. So this is a complete contrast, a complete shift from the current pencil and paper SAT that applies the same weight to every question, regardless of difficulty, and it simply tallies up right and wrong answers. Question number 8, will there still be an experimental section on the digital SAT? Supersmart question. Let's remind ourselves that the College Board, the creators of all things SAT, has traditionally added a 5th section to the SAT to test experimental questions, but that 5th section will be no more on the digital SAT. Instead, experimental items will be sprinkled into each section of their exam. There will be, of course, 2 experimental sections now called pre-test questions, as we've talked about in past videos. Those pre-test questions will be per module. So 8 pre-test questions overall. The remaining questions will be operational questions, which simply means that they will count in full towards your actual score. Question 9, will colleges use scores from the digital SAT the same way that they use scores from the current day pencil and paper SAT? The short answer is yes. Yes. Scores on the digital SAT will continue to serve as an indicator, let's just say it out loud, of college readiness. Colleges and universities will use SAT scores from the digital test as they do now, as one part of holistic admission review. In short, the digital SAT will have the same weight as the current day pencil and paper SAT regarding academic admission and, of course, the awarding of scholarship dollars. Question 10, how soon will students get their test score on the digital SAT? This is glorious news, folks. You will receive your score on the digital SAT in just a few days instead of a few weeks. Now, the new digital score reports will also provide students with custom information about resources on 2-year colleges, workforce training, and career options. However, there will be modifications to the score report that you currently enjoy for the pencil and paper SAT. Specifically, subscores and cross-test scores will no longer be reported. That said, you will receive 3 scores. Number 1, of course, your total score, and number 2, 2 separate section scores, one for reading and writing, and of course, the other one for math. Question 11, will the digital SAT be accessible for those with disabilities? The short answer is yes. The digital exam will offer the same range of accessibility options, including number 1, extended test time and breaks, number 2, text to speech, and number 3, of course, speech to text. The process for requesting accommodations will remain the same as well. And important to note, the pencil and paper SAT will still be offered for those that require that special accommodation. Question 12, when will the digital SAT practice test actually become available? The College Board is actively working with Khan Academy to redevelop their SAT practice materials for the digital exam. An audit at the recording of this video is currently underway to determine which materials from the pencil and paper SAT are applicable to the new digital exam and which materials, of course, would need to be removed in light of this glorious new format. As of October 2022, the College Board has released 4, count them, 4 full-length practice tests in their Blue Book app. Students with a College Board account can simply download the app to access all of that free practice, which includes a predictive score. Now, these practice materials supplement the SAT sample questions and answers that the College Board released in the late summer of 2022. Question 13, which devices can you use on the digital SAT? For the new digital SAT, you can use your own, number 1, laptop or iPad, number 2, a school-owned desktop or laptop, or number 3, a school-managed Chromebook. The College Board has also indicated that students may request to borrow a device directly from the College Board. But how that will work is still a bit unknown. More to come on that as soon as I have more information. I'll put up a new video. Question 14, what happens if I lose Wi-Fi connection during the digital SAT? I am grateful, my friends, to say this out loud. The answer is it will be okay if you lose connection during the test. The digital exam application was built to withstand internet outages. If you lose your connection, you can complete your test without disruption or loss of time, and all of your work will gratefully be saved. Even if your computer crashes or runs out of battery, you can simply plug it in, restart your device, and pick up where you left off. After the exam, you'll have a certain amount of time to get back online to submit your test. That said, please, please, please do not forget to charge your device. There may be limited access to power outlets in your testing room. You'll be expected, of course, to bring a fully charged device on test day. Question 15, what kind of technology will be built into the new digital SAT application? The digital testing app will have a variety of literally the most up-to-date built-in tools, including number one, a testing timer. That's your own personal clock to keep track of your time. You'll also get an alert 5 minutes before each of those 4 separate modules will end. Number two, and we mentioned this in past videos, a built-in graphing calculator to use during the math section. However, you will still have the option to bring your own calculator to the exam. Number 3 on my list, a reference sheet with commonly used formulas for the math section. Next, mark for review. That's a mark for review button that flags questions that you may want to revisit. And then last on my list, an annotation feature that allows students to highlight questions and to leave themselves notes. As always, we hope that you enjoyed today's video. Please do leave us a comment if you have any questions. And as always, please, please, please do remember to subscribe to our channel for the latest information on college admission and test prep and much, much more. Rob Franek, Editor-in-Chief here at the Princeton Review, signing off for today. Be well.